I'm Doug Massi, and in this three-part final expense sales training series, we're going to cover the entire final expense in-home sales presentation. And I'm going to show you exactly how I call to set appointments, the entire script, and we're even going to show you my door knocking technique. In today's video, Final Expense Training Part 1, I'll be covering the first half of my final expense presentation, including the easiest way to build lots of rapport and how to separate yourself from all the other insurance agents that these folks are seeing. Also, how to correctly find the need for the insurance and even get the client to admit that they need the insurance. And I'm going to show you how I go over final expense insurance versus all the other life insurance products, you know, the stuff they're seeing on TV and getting in the mail all the time. And now is the perfect time to give the video a like and subscribe. We're putting out new content every week. For today's training, guys, we're going to need you to pull out the guarantees of whole life insurance. And if you don't have this for some reason, you can email me at doug@ufesonline.com because you should be using it in every presentation that you make, period, no matter what. And I know a lot of you guys are watching this on the replay or on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit about building rapport, how to do that in the first part of the presentation, separating yourself from all the other insurance agents, which to me is very important when we're selling anything, especially final expense, a product like this where these folks are seeing a lot of different insurance agents for one reason or another. And we also go over the need. We talk about the 3 reasons presentation that I make and how we get the client to admit that there's a need, admit who the beneficiary is, and basically admit that they don't want them getting stuck having to pay out of pocket. I'll also share with you how I go over the benefits of whole life insurance with the prospect, with the client. First thing, guys, if you don't have a personal commercial, a little short story that you are able to tell your clients every time you make a presentation, you need to create one. And the idea of the personal commercial is to share with them a little information about you and your family, maybe how you got into the business, and how you love doing what you do because you're able to help people just like them with their insurance needs. And that's very important. Now, another way of doing a commercial is actually to do it through a photo album. I am going to tell you, one of the best producers I've ever worked with to this day, if not the best, would pull out an old photo album. It's like you can buy these things at the drugstores, and it doesn't have to be the big one. It can be like the small one that's maybe like 8x6 or 10x8 or something like that. And it's great. You can pull that out and you can actually share a little story while showing pictures of your family. And you can even get into a little bit of like how here's Uncle Joe and Aunt Alice. And when Uncle Joe passed away, there was no insurance and it was a mess. And Aunt Alice and the family had to figure out how to pay for everything. But when Aunt Alice died, it was real easy because she had the insurance. You can basically improvise stories like that pretty simply, or actually create your own generic commercial. I use a 3 reasons presentation. This is probably the old standard. I did not create the 3 reasons presentation. When I make my presentation, my 3 reasons presentation, I'll start with, well, okay, so Paul, you know, I've been doing this for many years and I know that everybody fills out this card or goes on to Facebook and fills out this form for a reason. Let's figure out where you fit in. The first reason, it may be that you've never prepaid for your funeral or your cremation, or that you don't have any type of insurance for this. The second reason, a lot of people do have these little bitty insurance policies, but in most cases, a lot of times it's just not very much. And they're hoping to add to the insurance if it's affordable, of course. And then the third is the person who pretty much has it all taken care of. But at the end of the day, they just want to make sure that their family doesn't get stuck having to pay anything out of pocket when they pass away. So, Paul, of those 3, where do you fit in? And that's how I'll do it. And I'll let them explain. And a lot of times they'll say, well, I'm not sure. And then you need to dig. You need to ask them, well, let me just ask you this. And what I do at one point or another, you need to figure out who the beneficiary is going to be. And you want to speak about the beneficiary by name. So when they're not sure, I go right into that. I ask them, I say, okay, well, let's just say you were to pass away today. Who would be the responsible person, or who would actually be the person that would come here and maybe clean everything up and set everything up for you and take care of this for you? They're going to tell you, my sister, my daughter. Okay, that's when you want to get their name. And that's when you want to say, okay, so the idea is you just want to make sure they don't have to pay anything out of pocket, correct? You get them to admit it. And now you have their sister or their daughter's name. So now in the event where they just pick an option, we need to go right into the beneficiary anyways. Let's say they just pick an option. Oh, I don't have anything. I definitely not sure what's going to happen when I pass away. Whether it's 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't matter. We need to get into uncovering this interest or this need. And that's when you'll ask, okay, well, who's going to get stuck? What's their name? And now that you have the name, this is important, and you've gotten them to admit it. And when I say admit it, the way I'll do it is I'll put the words in their mouth. Okay, so let me see if I got this straight, Paul. So your sister, Samantha, you just want to make sure that she doesn't get stuck having to pay anything out of pocket, correct? Yes, that's correct. I don't want anyone to have to pay anything out of pocket. You get them to admit it. You put the words in their mouth. That's how you do it. So now what's happening is they're committing. They're already committing to this early into the presentation. And very important, what I'll do, because my memory is terrible with names, guys, is I'll write the name down, Samantha. And now throughout the presentation, I'll take opportunities to bring that name back up, especially when I go to close the sale. Then I'm going to throw her name out there once again. The next part is we need to separate ourselves from all these other insurance agents. So what I do is I don't come out and say, okay, well, here's what I do. I'm an insurance broker. I try to make it a little more interesting, a little more, how do I say this? A little more of the type of thing that they would be interested in. So I'm trying to be special in a group of insurance agents that are all basically doing the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll say, well, Paul, what I do is a little bit different than most insurance agents. You see, I don't work for a big company. I'm actually part of a group of senior advocates. We're licensed right here in Florida, of course. And the cool thing about me being part of this group is that it gives me access to every insurance company that we would ever want to use. And not only do I have access to these regular companies, but I also have access to companies that have developed their products specifically for people who don't make much money. The idea is to make sure that you can afford it, Paul. So let me ask you something. Are you mainly living off your Social Security benefits? And that's when they'll say, yeah, I don't have much money. And that's when you're making yourself, okay, great. Well, those are the companies we're going to look at then for you to make sure that we get you the best deal. Keep in mind, guys, the idea of this part is you have to separate yourself from a crowd. You don't just say, well, I'm an insurance broker. No, you have to be different. You have to be more. And so that's why I like to use the term, that I work with a group of senior advocates. I do. This group of senior advocates are other agents that are part of our agency and other agencies. So we are a group and we do work to help our seniors. I like the way to use that term. And I also like to let them know, hey, I'm licensed. And meanwhile, guys, when I'm making my presentation, just an FYI, I am looking clean cut, somewhat professional, business casual. I actually like to wear a dress shirt, nice clean dress pants, a decent pair of work shoes. And so when I walk in, I am looking pretty darn good. I'm shaven, I'm well groomed. My objective is when I go in to make a presentation, if I'm making a presentation with somebody's grandma and they walk in while I'm making the presentation to their grandma, I want their first impression to be, oh, it's a professional person. Who's this? I don't want their impression to be, who's this sleazy guy here? Well, what's going on here? I don't want them to be concerned. I want them to be interested. And by the way, when this happens, I always ask the client that I'm making the presentation, if the grandson walks in, I'll ask them, I'll say, do you want them to sit down and be part of this? And that way you give them the option. That way it's full disclosure. There's no hidden anything. We're not acting like we're doing something sneaky. We're there to help the family. And that the idea is to convey that message to everybody that's there. By doing that, it's only going to help you and your clients. This is when we want to pull out the guarantees of whole life insurance. And guys, if you're just watching this and you're not part of our agency, you can email me. I'll show you the email address again at the end of the training here. And this is what the guarantees of whole life looks like. What I do is I laminate it. I keep it laminated, and I'll pull it out and I'll say, well, just to be clear, because I know, Mrs. Jones, you're seeing a lot of stuff on TV. You're getting stuff in the mail. You're getting the phone calls. Am I right? And they're like, yes. So, okay. With whole life insurance, first, the price is never going to go up on you. The death benefit will never go down, and the insurer cannot cancel the policy unless you stop paying, of course. And by the way, all policies build cash value, and that's when you can explain a little bit to them about how cash value works. Now, and I say, and I'm real clear about it, and the most important thing is the benefit is guaranteed to the day you die. And then I'll read this bottom line to them, because it's not like that term life insurance where the price goes up and the policy expires at a certain age, and then you don't get nothing back and your family is still stuck having to pay the bill. It's not like that. This is good for when you die, not like term life insurance, which is designed when you die young, when you die early. And it's not that accidental stuff either. This is going to pay no matter how you die. Guys, FYI, where it says insurer can't cancel the policy. So let me just say this. Let me address something I think is important. The insurers, 99% of them don't do this, but they actually do have a right. You passed your license in the first 2 years. They can go back a year and a half later and do a background check on the client. And if they see something they don't like, and believe it or not, even if it's something that came up since they issued the policy, they can rescind the policy. When they rescind the policy, they're giving the client back their money. You're paying back the commission. Why is this important? Because there's only one company that I know of that will actually do this, that has a reputation of doing it, and it is Americo. And I know I've brought this up on some of my videos. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, for whatever reason, they did it to my wife. She had to give back thousands of dollars on one of her biggest sales. And that's what they do. They'll check into your biggest sale a year and a half after you sell it. And that's insane. So for my wife, it was no big deal. You know, we do very well, so it wasn't a big deal. Financially, it was zero stress. But if you're an average insurance agent, you know, that has that average median household income of like $55,000 a year, man, having to get back a $2,000 commission is going to be horrible. So just a heads up, the only company that I know of that does that, and that I've ever had issues with it doing, I've had other agents say, call me up freaking out, Doug, what's going on, Americo? They rescinded this policy. Yeah, it's Americo. At this point, we've explained to them, you know, the difference between term life and whole life insurance. This is when we get into the health scenario. And so what I'll do is I'll transition right into it. Now, what we're going to do today, Paul, is first I'm going to ask you some questions about your health. And that's going to help me to find the best priced company. And then what I'll simply do is lay out several options so that we can find something that you can afford. I'm pretty much sure that that's the only way this is going to work. Am I right? I get them to admit it. Yes, it's only going to work if I can afford it. We know that. And that's what we're pounding on. We're pounding on affordability. Remember, I think the more we can get them to nod their head and to say yes, the better. To me, that's all part of something that I learned halfway through my sales career when I was selling home improvements. I got into neurolinguistics programming. And that's when I realized, getting them to admit is always a good idea up front, no matter what you're selling. And also a little physical contact can't hurt. And so what I'll do is I'll say something like, okay, we're going to show you a bunch of options so we can find something you can easily afford, because I know that's the only way it's going to work. Am I right? They'll say, yeah, and I'll go that way. And then I'll bring up the name. Of course, like I said, I'll write it down. That way, Samantha, and what I'll do is I'll reach over and touch them on the leg. I'll say Samantha, and I'll touch them on the leg or the arm, isn't going to get stuck having to pay for anything when you're gone. What that little contact, that little bit of physical contact does is it kind of establishes a underlying connection with the client. And the idea is to let them know that, everything you're doing, this whole look, the way your presentation is real strong, the way you're there to help them, what it lets them know is that you're trustworthy. And that, to me, it's really all about everything in this that we've gone over in this first part of the presentation is really about building enough rapport so that when you do lay out the options, they simply are more likely to just pick an option and go with it. Do yourself a favor, email me if you don't have the guarantees of whole life insurance, laminate it. What I'll do is I'll laminate the I Am Your Policy and 8 Reasons Seniors Purchase Whole Life on the back side of that. So the 2 tools that I walk in that are laminated, I walk into the house with that are laminated are the guarantees of whole life insurance, 1, and then 2, the I Am Your Policy, along with the 8 Reasons Seniors Purchase Whole Life Insurance on the back. So it's 2 forms. One is a guarantee, the other is the I Am Your Policy with the 8 Reasons. If you'd like a copy of I Am Your Policy, or 8 Reasons Seniors Purchase Whole Life Insurance, or the Guarantees of Whole Life Insurance, email me at doug@ufesonline.com. You can look forward to part 2 will be coming up here in a couple of days, guys. So happy hunting.